Hi, I'm Kristie Clayton, founder and visionary of ConvHERs. HER is an acronym for Helping Executives Rise. Welcome to ConvHERsations with Kristie, where we dive into real, raw, and inspiring conversations with incredible leaders. You see, at ConvHERs, we're not just a community, we're a movement, a space where women leaders rise together, support one another, and celebrate our collective success. Whether you're leading as a second in command, steering the vision as the visionary or founder, or driving impact with your company as a leadership team member, ConvHERs was designed for you. Our mission is to provide resources, coaching, and peer support that you need to grow confidently in your leadership journey. Through memberships like Female Executive Mastermind and the Lead Her community, along with events like workshops and summits, and even personalized coaching, we are here to help women embrace their strengths, overcome challenges, and truly thrive. And that's what ConvHERsations with Kristie is about too. It's a space to share the golden nuggets of wisdom that come from authentic, heartfelt, real conversations. There's no scripts, there's no fluff, just honest insights from leaders who are leading boldly and making an impact. See, I believe leadership isn't something you do alone. It's a journey we navigate, and we don't have to do that alone. We can do it together, because together we rise. Now, let's get started with today's conversation. I am confident you are going to love it. Hi, everybody. Welcome to this week's episode with Kelly Renz. I'm super excited to have you on. Kelly, would you love to introduce yourself and who you are?
Absolutely. Thanks so much for having me, Kristie. I'm so excited for this. You do great content here. I'm Kelly Renz. I'm the founder and CEO of a company called inVantage. We are a business coaching organization. We talk about the reason we exist, right? Our core purpose is that we create the learning environment, the time-proven tools and in-the-seat experience, and we bring those to the business owners and leaders to live the benefits of delivering on the vision that they hold true for their business. So we help people achieve their dreams.
Oh, I love that. What a beautiful statement. We help people achieve their dreams. I love it, love it, love it. Well, friend, I know you and I have had conversation about some things that are kind of happening in the business world right now. And one of the things that you're seeing is a lot of businesses are up for sale. Yes. And so I would love to kind of hear your passion around this topic and, just some insights that you have around selling businesses. So kind of share with me what you're seeing in the world right now.
Yeah, absolutely. So, the role that we play with our clients is we're helping them really strengthen their operational cadences and execution, really maximizing, their overall performance so that when they do get to that point, they either want to buy or maybe even buy another company or be sold, that they're operating at their maximum level. Mm-hmm. So we get really down into the deep parts of their business. And so what we're seeing is, coming into 2025, it was a kind of a wait and see, some trepidation, everybody trying to read the tea leaves a little bit of what's going to happen this year. And it still is a bumpy ride. But what we found is so many opportunities have opened up for our clients to be acquired or do acquiring of other companies. So here's what we see as change. One is people have kind of settled in a little bit now and said, well, businesses must still run regardless of some of the economic or environmental aspects facing them. And good companies, well-run companies always have value. And so the investors have kind of opened up the purse strings a little, and now we're starting to see deals happen. And candidly, those that are running the best fetch the best price and have the most negotiating power. So when we came into the year, right around January 1st, 8 of our clients were in active negotiations to either be sold or buy a company. And since then, of 8, 7 transactions have closed already this year. So it's definitely a hopping market right now for well-run businesses. And I think that's creating a little bit of momentum in the market. People are now like, oh, maybe this is really the time we should really consider getting ourselves ready for this.
Yeah. What do you think that the momentum change has been, though, to want to sell or to want to buy? Is it just settling, or is there more to it?
I suspect there's a few things. That's a really good question because number one, we have seen business owners really taking more stock of what is important to them personally, kind of the enriching, like what do I need as a human, not just what do I need as a business owner, and trying to mesh those together. So taking a look and a real hard look sometimes at what's really important to them. Do they want to spend more time with their family? Do they want to be traveling? Are they getting to that point in life where they're like, you know what, maybe I don't want to work quite this darn hard anymore. I want to work either smarter or differently. So now that's a trend we've been seeing, Kristie, since COVID, right? We're seeing people step back and say, what in the heck have I created here? But we're seeing a little bit more of that now because I think people are settled into the, business must go on. So why wait? So the why wait is one issue. I would say the other, and this is just interesting in the world of business acumen and coaching, is business owners are getting a lot more requests to reflect on that question of what do you really want? What's really important to you? So I think that they're getting more aware of the fact like, hey, I can make some of these decisions. I don't have to wait for a magic situation. I can take the power back into my business and decide when I want to have that exit. And you know what? I'm going to do that. So there's external factors, economy and whatnot. And then there's the emotional ones of what do I want out of life? And why not me and why not now? So it's really interesting. It's different than maybe I'd say certainly like 5-10 years ago when really business results just kind of churned through to an outcome. And now we're seeing a lot more thoughtfulness in business exits.
I love that. The realization I had as you were talking is it really truly is a ripple effect. When one business owner is asking themselves that question, what do I really want out of life? And listen, for some people, it may be having the business and, moving it down to different generations that can run it and, whatever that may look like for them. Others, it may be selling, but it's so important for I can see that, right? It's an important question to really ask and to thoughtfully think out. And the more and more people that are doing it, and then people are seeing them living the life that they really truly want to live. Well, my goodness, I want that too.
Yeah. We use the word, being intentional. It's a very big buzzword and phrase right now, but I think it's probably hitting business owners really kind of in their face about what do they intentionally want that life to be. And now, a lot of CEOs, travel in other CEO circles, right? There's collaborations, and they're hearing the success stories of others, and those conversations are actually just becoming far more public. Where a lot of that was kept really private. Like, why would I sell my business because I want something personally? It was almost like something you couldn't discuss at one point. And now it's like, no, that's a big part of why you've invested yourself into this business. So I just love to see that the conversation is turning to be more about quality along with quantity when it comes to sale.
Yes, I love that too. So tell me, Kelly, since you 7 out of 8 is going through the process of buying or selling, that's amazing. But tell me, what are some of the things that if I'm looking to either buy or sell, what are some of the things I need to be thinking about?
So let me talk from the buy side first, right? So if I'm working with one of my clients who's looking to acquire another organization, of course, there's a due diligence process, right? Let's get into the nuts and bolts, take a look at the numbers, get all the facts, figures, and information. We really, though, help them focus also on look at the culture match and the leadership team capabilities. The statistics show that almost 75% of acquisitions fail. And they don't fail because somebody didn't do good enough due diligence on the numbers. It has almost 100% to do with what are the relationships and culture combinations that come together. Is everyone rowing in the same direction? Is it a collaborative one? Is it transparent? Are roles clear? Right? All the things that we live day to day that generally had gotten overlooked in acquisitions for a long time. So we encourage a leadership team assessment process and making sure that there's a real deep integration of an alignment set of evaluations that happen between companies. So that's one thing is making sure that we hit the softer side of the deals, which is oftentimes not something that others are comfortable with. They're like, oh, but do I really want them to get to know me? And do I want to get to know them? And we're like, yes, you're in this for the long haul. Let's spend some time. Let's spend some time dating a little bit before we get married to each other's businesses. So I'll say that's one thing. When our clients are looking at a buy, we know where the value gets lost. Now on the sell side, what's interesting is we help our clients really figure out, so why are you wanting to sell now? And the why behind that really matters on oftentimes what kind of buyer they're looking for their business. Is it personal? Like, is it a burnout level? Because if you're at burnout, whole different set of emotions and feelings. If you're at I'm ready to retire and I'm excited for that next phase of life, that's a different set of criteria. And oftentimes when people go to sell, they don't realize that their personal goals of what they want and where they're emotionally at influence actually who they should be selling to. Because who you're selling to needs to match that goal for you. So if you're in burnout, you might be leaving stuff on the table because you're in a hurry. Let's be honest, right? But if you're looking at this as retirement, fantastic. You might be quicker to sell. If you're looking for a company that's looking to, you want them to preserve your whole leadership team because these are your people and this is your work family, that's another sale. So taking time to evaluate what you really are using as your motivation to sell, so that it really narrows the whole buying pool down to some really good strategic relationships, is a really healthy step that a lot don't stop to do. Sometimes they just kind of blindly go into the process and discover that, like, I don't know, the 2 weeks before they close the deal. And then they're like, wait a second, I'm not feeling aligned. I'm feeling like there's confusion, or is this the right thing? We back that up way earlier in the conversation. And I think that's a lot healthier sale process to go through, quite honestly, for them and their teams.
Yeah, I can imagine. I mean, it is such especially when it's your baby, right? It's the thing that you've created and you've built and you've grown and you've gone through all these phases of building this business, turning that now and like releasing it to someone else. That is such an emotional.
Yeah.
I mean, the emotions that get involved, even with non-emotional people, it can really be a turning point for someone in whether they move forward or not, or maybe just not move forward with that particular company. It is crazy, the emotions that you can feel.
Yeah, I mean, that's the most heightened set of timelines that business owners will feel is in the sales process. And so the sensitivities, increase, and sleep decreases, and like all of the things that are like stressor contributors, those are the times they start to show up. And being far more thoughtful and deliberate brings a little bit more, calm to that already challenging situation. And it should feel like an exciting time too, right? Having built something special that you can sell, that somebody else values so much they want to acquire it from you, should be something you celebrate, right? Something that you're recognizing and feel pride and satisfaction with. And those are the feelings we want the business owners to be focused on, not angst and upset and frustration. And let's be honest, deals come with a little bit of both, but boy, I'd rather see my clients heading in with optimism and excitement than anything.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Well, and you said something to me that really has kind of resonated with me, that there can almost be like two types of sales, right? There's can be more of the clinical, the technical, like just process the deal, that maybe feel a little bit more robotical. And then there is also more of the enriching side of things, right? The positivity and the optimism and, the good feelings that come along with selling your business. Is that something you're seeing a lot of?
Yeah, we see both, right? So we do a lot of work with private equity firms where we're actually helping them maybe get one of their portfolio companies ready for its next sale. So maybe their time of ownership, their term has come to an end, and they're ready to transition to the next owner. I would say, the best private equity firms we work with recognize that for the successful sale, they are going to make some investment in the people readiness as well. And those that are more clinical, perhaps in the sale, oftentimes there's just more discord at the end, and at the very end, right before closing, is kind of where a lot of what we call the horse trading happens, right? A lot of little things that are getting negotiated down to the wire, and it's not as often in their favor. So I'd say that owners, private equity firms, or I guess individual owners too, that spend a little bit more time maybe explaining and getting people ready, have more conversations, be more transparent about what's happening and what's going to be the outcome for them, just have better success. Now, in a more clinical sale, sometimes that just also makes sense as well. Sometimes it could be a competitor doing a strategic acquisition, and you have to be really careful what information is shared right up to that wire. I mean, there's always places it makes sense, but I don't know. If I look at statistics and if 75% of them are going to fail, I want to be in the 25% where I'm like, you know what? I probably want to defer to more transparency than not. So I like those odds a little better.
Yeah. Yeah, but like what you just said reminds me too, though, that having these conversations, it's healthy to have conversations about selling, because somebody said something to me a long time ago that really has just stuck with me for many, many, many years. And she said, whether you recognize it or not, your business is always like up for sale, right?
Mm-hmm.
Never know when something could happen, right? You don't know if a health crisis could occur. You don't know if you just have a different perspective in life and are wanting to make a change. Like, so a business can always be for sale. And so you should always run it in that manner, right?
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what if I'm a business owner though, that like I've never thought about selling, or, it's just never been in my purview. I built this business so that I could have it forever.
Mm-hmm.
What would you tell them are some things that they should consider, in that mindset that
Mm-hmm.
a business can always be for sale, or maybe they have had a shift in their, in something that has happened that they're now like, you know what, I do think I want to have these conversations.
Yeah. I would say this, and that we have this conversation. Sometimes this is the first conversation we're having with a potential client as well, as we say, let's get informed. Let's at least get informed about the value of your business, regardless of whether or not you want to sell it right now. Let's at least just take stock of what we've got. And let's try to get to the number. Let's figure out, what's your current valuation. We have some tools that we use in our practice that helps us, evaluate what that is. If all things today are true, let's measure what that looks like. Does that feel like a good outcome to you in the event of an emergency, or if you change your mind? Does that feel good? Does this yield the lifestyle that you're looking to fund if you're looking to keep the business? And so we take them through some modeling to get informed. Because once you're informed, then you can make better decisions versus gut feel. So that's the place we always start and say, let's get some data behind the feeling. And that will help you say, yep, this feeling feels good, or, oh, I don't like how that feels. That's not what I thought. And then let's have the conversation about this. So what can we do about it? And that's one of the best parts is, to be honest, a lot of those discussions, we have business owners that may think their business is worth more than it actually is, right? It's not often the other way around. We see people have a very optimistic view of their value and don't realize that some small tweaks could increase that. So I think that's part of becoming an informed business owner, is always your accountability, so that you are running it the most effective way. And then you actually can make the deliberate decisions. I'm going to invest here. I'm not going to invest there. I need to hire this position. I don't. All those decisions, at least you're now making them with an awareness of what is really the biggest impact of your value on your business. So I think that helping them get informed is one of the key places we usually start with them, so that they know what they need to do.
Yeah. Well, and you're right. Like, knowing is the start of being able to really, establish what needs to be done. Informed decisions, not just random decisions, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, so I'm really curious, when you are going into a business, and especially now that you've been involved with so many that, are buying and selling, what is something like, what are the trends that you see that people really like, these are the things that they need to work on to make their business more profitable in a sale?
Yeah. And it's a great question, because there are some definite patterns or frequency of things that we see. So one is that the business is too dependent on the owner to run. So a lot of the value becomes tied up in that individual, and the ability to sell the company becomes very locked in or tied to whether that person stays or not. Maybe they own all the client relationships or a lot of major ones, or all the employees report to them. When there's too much of one key person or maybe a couple of people that are running the business, versus having found ways to delegate out and build a leadership team that can run the business more effectively. I wouldn't say they have to run the business without them, but have a lot more autonomy. We see that as number one. And that's especially in, let's say, family-owned businesses, right? Yeah. Especially if we're dealing with a founder or maybe even a second generation. So much of the business got built around the people, not the product or offering, that actually dilutes it. So we take a look and say, so how can we reduce the dependency of the business on just one or two or a very small handful of people? So that's one. I would say the other is customer concentration, right? Is too much of your revenue coming from a single source or a few sources, because it doesn't take much to have the market change. We've had a couple of clients who relied really heavily, maybe 40% of their business was tied up in a very large organization. And it doesn't take long for that. If that goes away, we're having very different conversations about the business. So making sure that you're not dependent too much in one, maybe vendor or client as well. And then the last I would say is how are you delegating out decision authorities as well in the business? Who gets to make what decisions? Little different than the first example of is the company dependent on you? It's also, are you the bottleneck of decisions? You could have a very great organization, but are you controlling too many of the major decisions? And therefore, when you go to sell, your next level down, call it the level 2 leaders or even 3, are not developed enough to be able to run the business if you're not there as well. Maybe they're just not experienced enough. And here's what happens. This is always what happens. If that's the case, owner sells, maybe the owner exits in a couple of years with an earnout, but that next level down is left vulnerable. And then new leadership comes in, cue the change of culture and all the things that start happening, and then cue the turnover. So it's like, are you really setting up your next levels for success? Because a lot of our business owners care deeply about their people. And sometimes we accidentally don't set them up for success by not giving them the challenges and decision authority and learning that they can thrive in a new environment as well.
I love the way that you just said that too, because you're right. So many business owners care so deeply about their employees, and especially family-owned businesses. Even if it's a family-owned business and there are members of the team that are not family, they feel like family.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
But what disservice we're doing to them if we don't give them autonomy to make decisions and really build them up to be strong, independent leaders of us.
Yes. Yeah, I think that business owners probably don't always realize how much of an accountability or responsibility they have to develop people. It's really interesting, especially entrepreneurs who maybe are the founders. They loved a product or tool or thing or whatever they created. So now they went into business, and eventually they, ascend to running the business, no longer doing the thing. Well, they need to also then develop the people who do the things. And it's very interesting for them to realize that they have to cascade that learning. And that can be a little bit of a hump. Sometimes it's a control hump to get over. Sometimes they've never done it. They've never had to develop leaders and don't have any idea how. It's not easy.
It's not easy. And Kelly, I'll tell you, one of the things that I'm learning with some of my coaching clients is there becomes an identity crisis too. I'm the one that's always done those things. But if I elevate out of doing the things and now I become the true business owner, CEO, just running the company, where does my value come from? Yeah. And so there's really establishing your new identity as the CEO business owner versus the doer of all things.
Yes. And I think I agree with you 100%, because that's where then the discussion starts with let's say the owner or leadership group of, okay, so what needs to morph in your accountability? How do you continue to elevate that so that others can as well? So that identity of it's that whole "what got you here won't get you there" concept, right? Exactly. Good old adage, but it's true. So helping the leadership team create their new set of accountabilities, which lead to that identity. That's some of the first work we do with our clients is okay, who are you going to be? Where are you today? And what's the gap we have to fill in between? And that tends to be scary for them. it's also invigorating. So we get the whole gamut of the emotions that go with it. But that's part of our job is, let's get your vision bigger, think bigger. And now your role has to get bigger in a different way, bigger thinking. And it's really interesting to watch them kind of flourish through that. And everybody does it at their own speed, right? Kristie, you see people like some people hold on for dear life to where they are, and others are like, how can I get there as fast as possible? And that's our job as coaches, just like you, right? As coaches, to help people see where they want to go and help them recognize the path that they may uniquely need to follow, because their path is going to be different than the company sitting next to them at the next networking event, right? So they have to chart that course.
Exactly. Friend, I had no doubt that this was going to be a really great conversation that was going to be full of little nuggets of wisdom here. And I was not wrong in any way, shape, or form. Thank you so much for sharing this, and, all the things that people can really truly think about when they're making these decisions, whether they want to, sell, or, some of the emotional side of things, just having that be a normalcy, right? It's normal to have these emotions that you're having. You are not isolated or alone in this. And just being able to process that, and really, I agree. The word intentional is almost being overused these days, but it is true. Being intentional, but also just knowing, being honest with yourself about what is your goal, why is it your goal, what do you want? Because if you're not being honest with yourself, you're not being honest with anybody else, and you're not going to feel the things that you need to be able to let go of that organization and, move into what you've decided is your next step.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you for having me.
Yeah, this was so fun. Well, I like to end with 3 rapid fire questions. And so for those of you who know me well, honor, empower, inspire means a lot to me. So we'll start with honor. Kelly, who is a woman of a past generation that you would love to honor?
So it's interesting. I'm thinking of somebody, first thing is somebody I actually worked for at one point, who has since retired. I'm going to put her name out there. Her name is Kristie Renz. She was the first female CEO of a public accounting firm, one of the largest accounting firms. And she spent her life serving the firm and moved her way through leadership. And she did it with incredible grace. She did it with kindness. And I will tell you, nobody could hold people more accountable than her. And just watching her be unapologetically clear was wonderful to learn under her guidance. So I appreciate Kris very, very much.
I love that. What a beautiful person to honor. Yes. What about empower? Who is a woman of a current generation, whether she's a business owner or she's in leadership today, that either empowers you to be your absolute best self, or that you hope to empower her to be her best?
Yeah. So I'm going to go a little more personal on this one. So I have our youngest is 21, and her name is Morgan. And she's finishing up her college career with a dual major in entrepreneurship, supply chain management, and whatnot. And she is very, very driven. And I'm watching her navigate entering the workforce and having done internships. And she's leading so true to herself. She's not afraid of asking questions. She's a go-getter. And she's taking control of her own destiny, and just watching her feel that empowerment of herself and the ability to elevate and be her own best advocate. I hope all our upcoming leaders have that capability, but watching what's been instilled in her from a generational perspective is fantastic. So I can't wait, Kristie, to see where she lands, because I'm going to be working for her someday, probably. I hope.
I love that she was your empower. That's absolutely amazing. And then what about inspire? Who is a woman of a future generation that you hope to inspire?
So I think this is a little bit broader. When I would love us to really be able to embrace female entrepreneurs, people who feel like it is an opportunity to go after those dreams, have the confidence, get educated. There are so many educational tools out there. So I would say I would love to see us, I think, 46 of the top 1,000, Fortune 1,000 are female CEOs. We can do better. and we're going to do better. And so that's who my future is locked on, is like, I can't wait to see how we elevate more women into the C-suite and at the top of that to help guide us through our next generation of growth and business.
Oh, I love that. And you fired me up there, and I could probably talk for another hour on this, but yes, you're right. Like I hope more women, somebody asked me one time, Kristie, when is it going to be enough for you that your women empowerment all the time? When is it going to be enough? And I just looked at her and I said, like RBG said, when there's 9, like there's never going to be enough until women have a space at every single leadership team table that they want to, until every woman is in a room where decisions are being made. That's when it will be enough, when we are no longer the minority in all of the conversations.
Absolutely. And I look forward to women being able to take hold of that motivation and know that it's limitless. So I'm excited, and thank you for promoting that kind of environment as well.
Yes, absolutely. Well, again, Kelly, thank you so much. This was an amazing conversation, full of little nuggets. I knew it would be. Y'all, let's give her a round of applause. And I get to see you again next week. I can't wait. I can't wait. I hope you have a great week.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of ConvHERsations with Kristie. I hope you're walking away with a few nuggets of inspiration, maybe a new perspective, or just a reminder that you're not alone in your leadership journey. If this episode resonated with you, share it with a friend, drop us a comment, or tag us with your favorite takeaway. And don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode. Until next time, keep showing up, keep leading with heart, and keep building the kind of life and leadership that feels true to you. I'll see you in the next ConvHERsation.